Hi, it's Taylor. I am student teaching right now at Cleveland Elementary in first grade with Emily LaFriends, and it's amazing, super fun. Love Cleveland, love the environment there, but we do have some disciplinary issues. With Emily, she does take on kind of the harder bunch of kids. She sometimes says that she gets the hardest kids in her classroom, so it's pretty interesting learning from her and what she does with her students when there is behavior or management problems that come up. Other than that, our classroom right now is really great. We have 24 students, equal boy and girl, 12-12, so that's pretty interesting. We do have some that are on an IEP and a 504, and then also we have a lot that go for behavior or to the counselor. With that, I'm going to talk about mostly one student and kind of how the year started when I started student teaching, and then how it kind of changed to present day, kind of what we notice now and how he responds to redirection and how he responds to nonverbal and verbal cues to redirect his behaviors. So a question on here, it says the high intensity situation you experienced about, I think it was probably the first or second week of student teaching. This student, I noticed every day would just outburst, throw tantrums if he didn't get his way. If he didn't get called on and his hand was raised, he'd sit there and pout or hit himself in the head with his hand or call himself stupid. And this is a first grader, so that was pretty intense. But one day, he was just having a rough day. Came in late, day started off wrong, on the wrong foot. Had a rough day throughout the whole day, and we were about to go outside for our last recess of the day, so about 1:30 they go outside, and he just was having a hard time getting his stuff on. He was getting frustrated, he was getting mad. I tried to help him, and he'd just get mad and whatever, and he would just get so angry, and Mrs. LaFrench tried to help him, and then he ran out of the classroom. And fortunately, she grabbed him right before he ran out to go destroy basically the hallway, which kind of blew me away a little bit. She kind of grabbed him and sat him down and kind of raised her voice, and that was really the first time I had ever heard her get louder than a talking voice when dealing with management or disciplinary issues. So that was pretty intense because she sat him down and she was like, I'm going to be real with you. This is not okay. And she told me that she likes to tell them kind of the hard truths that they need to hear, even though they are only first graders. These kids have seen a lot of stuff going on in their life, and if they keep acting the way that they do, she likes to bring it back to real world situations. So she brings up a lot, like if you don't listen to your friends or your partners or your teachers now, that habit is going to grow into when you are working. It's not going to be good for your boss, and so forth. So he was very upset, very crying, visibly mad, just fuming, red, ready to just hit something. And she got down to her level, which I thought was really important because gave that eye contact of like, I really care about you, but I don't accept this behavior that you are presenting. What did you do or thought during this situation? I mostly observed because it was like my first or second week, and I didn't really know the student very well. I didn't feel comfortable intervening with that. And she had seen mostly the behavior that had happened leading up to that point. So I felt more comfortable with her dealing with that. But what I was thinking was just how this six-year-old child tells himself that he wants to just not go back home, or he's not worth it, he has no worth, and he should never have been born because he's just a hassle. And that just shows a lot of trauma in his life. And I know more about his background, and his home life is not good at all. But what I was thinking during that time was just how Emily really got it from a high intensity place of, I'm running out of the classroom, she's grabbing me, or she grabbed the student, and she kind of raised her voice and was kind of upset. Like, my co-teacher was upset, and I didn't really know what to do, so I just was kind of observing. But when I was thinking about it, it really brought me back to, we have to build relationships with our students first before even we teach, because if she didn't have that strong of a relationship with the student that ran out and got mad and visually was mad and throwing and punching, if she didn't have that strong of a relationship that she does have, I can imagine the situation would have just blown up even more. Administration would have had to been called. Mom probably would have had to been called. All of that kind of stuff. But since she had such a strong relationship with that student, she knew how to calm him down to the point where he understood what he did, felt guilty for what he did, apologized, and then made an action plan of, okay, when we get frustrated, what are we going to do? Are we going to storm out of the room, kick, punch things, or are we going to take a step back and say, okay, breathe, take a breath, or come to one of us, Mrs. LaFrenz, myself, or our EA, who has a really strong relationship with him, and just confide in us and tell us what's going on and try and calm him down. Cleveland has adapted the Boys Town management skill, the management part, but also in her classroom, Mrs. LaFrenz's classroom, she has a lot of responsive classroom, so we integrate both of those kind of together. So we say, I notice you're doing this, but it's their brains working of thinking, okay, I know I'm not doing something right because either Mrs. LaFrenz, myself, or Mrs. Gutenkopf is looking at me like giving a nonverbal signal of, you're probably not doing something, but it's not our job as the teachers in the EA to tell them what to do at this point in the school year, because they know the expectations, they know the rules, they know what we expect from them. So we have been using a lot of just tapping on the shoulder, giving kind of like a like, I see what you're doing, probably should stop, or figure it out, fix it. Or just, if we have one student who is kind of his brain kind of goes wherever it wants to go. But he's a great student. He's struggling a little bit, but I think he's kind of right at average. But we just look at him and we just say, hey, what are you noticing your friends are doing right now? And that's after we had given explicit directions. Maybe say we finished up a handwriting paper and we want them to put it in their mailboxes to go put in their, at the end of the day, they go put those in their backpacks. And he'll just sit there and ask, like, what am I supposed to do? After the fact that we had given explicit directions. So we just say, look at what all your friends are doing. Can you figure out the problem from there? Figure out the problem of, what are my friends doing? Did I not listen clearly to the directions, or do I need to hear them again? Or can I figure it out from what others are doing? So I think that's how we kind of integrate Boys Town and responsive classroom into our classroom, which for our kids really works really well. What I did during, I kind of mentioned that situation of the student who blew up. I just kind of sat back and observed, because it was only my second week, and I just didn't feel confident and comfortable enough with that student to handle the situation. Now, if that would have happened, yeah, I would have felt pretty comfortable handling that situation, calming him down, get down to his level, asking him what he did wrong or what's wrong, and just listening to him. And that's, for him, that's what he needs. He needs someone to listen to him. After the situation, I did talk to my co-teacher about it, and Emily was just talking about she never really gets loud, like in a yelling type of voice, only when it's the last, like, necessary to get their attention and to just, but like she's told me, I didn't do it for more than 30 seconds. She kept it very short for the yelling because she said they get that at home. They get yelled at all the time at home. So they don't want it from that one person that they can trust that won't yell at them, which is their teacher. So she says, I did yell at him a little bit, but I brought it right back down, and I brought it to a real life situation of, if you keep acting like this, what's going to happen when you grow up and all of that kind of stuff. So she just kept it real with him, which I was really surprised with, because I don't think I would ever have done that in my first year teaching if I hadn't have seen that, hadn't have seen like the response of taking in a real life situation of, if you keep acting like this, what's going to happen what's going to happen as you grow up. So definitely a learning point, and definitely kind of an eye-opener. She talked about, I kind of talked about this already, but she really just keeps it real, and she keeps it focused on love. And even though they might be in trouble, that it's because we love them, that we want them to be better. So that's been a huge, amazing thing that I've learned. This student that I just was talking about actually went on some ADHD medicine, and he's a completely different child. He raises his hand, there's no outbursts. I haven't heard from him, I'm worthless, I'm whatever, and I haven't seen the hitting the head or punching, kicking the walls. I haven't seen that. There are some times when I'm like, oh, okay, there's the old you coming back. For example, one day he was working really hard with his reading group, and then he went back to his station, which was number writing and writing the numbers in order, and he really likes doing that because he's proud of how far he can get, which is awesome. But he got back to his station, the number writing station, and the bell rang to switch stations. And immediately oh man, I just want to do this is stupid, and all that. And I pulled him right away. And I was like, hey, come here. And I was sitting in a chair, and first grade chairs are really small, so I was right at eye level with him. And I was just like, what's going on, dude? I knew what was going on, but him telling me, I felt, was taking that responsibility of the behavior. So he told me, I just wanted to write, I think it was 201. I'm like, okay. He's like, I just don't remember. And I was like, well, let's figure it out together. And so we wrote 201, and at that time, after he wrote 201, he had calmed down in enough time where he could put away his number writing paper, and he felt okay to move to the next station. So, but before medicine, I don't think that would have been a very quick turnaround in behavior-wise. It would have been 10-15 minutes of scowls and ripping the paper and breaking pencils. But now after ADHD medicine, he's a new student. And I'm not a person that really likes medicine for such young children, but in situations like this, it immensely helped him keep his focus. Before, he would just blurt out things. He would never raise his hand, and then he'd get frustrated because our teacher would be like, I'm not answering you because there's all these kids raising their hands. And now he sits there patiently raising his hand, and it's honestly incredible. Now the hope and the goal is one day maybe get him off of those medicine, and just form those management skills and those morals in him that, okay, I want to be a good student, so I'm not going to behave like a child, like a baby. I'm going to behave like I know I should. So that's been really something that I have learned a lot. Thankfully, I haven't seen too much of a high-intensity classroom. I haven't seen like flipping of tables, throwing of chairs, punching, thank goodness. But I know it happens. So, and until I get into that situation, I think it's going to be hard for me to explain what I would do. But I know it happens. And we all just have to learn from it. And, sometimes we might make a mistake in how we handle a situation. But it's the fact that when we make a mistake, we know we made a mistake and we can learn from it and go from there. So I think that's something that I'm going to work on, is if I make a mistake in behavior management skills, that I recognize it and say, okay, what could I have done different in that situation? And improve on that as well. So